Today, we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating idea from the world of homeopathy, the concept that medicines can have personalities almost like people do. We're going to break down exactly what's meant by a drug picture. So let's just start with a question that kind of flips everything we think we know about medicine on its head. What if a medicine wasn't for a specific disease, say the flu, but was instead matched to a specific type of person who happens to have the flu? So where are we getting this stuff from? Well, our guide for this is a text that compiled what it calls 100 homeopathic drug pictures. It basically gathers historical sources to create these really detailed profiles, these personalities for 100 different remedies. It's a very unique way of looking at things. And this whole framework, this combination of personality, physical symptoms, and emotional state, that's what's known as a drug picture. It's less about just naming a sickness and way more about, painting a full portrait of the person who's sick. So how do they actually paint this picture? Let's take a look. Okay, so a drug picture isn't just one thing. It's actually built from a few key components. Let's look at the building blocks that make up one of these profiles. First up is what's called the makeup. You can think of this as the foundation, the general constitution of the person. Are they physically robust or more slender? Is their personality generally irritable, or are they pretty calm? It's really the broad stroke sketch of the individual. And here is a perfect example of what that looks like. The description for the remedy antimonium crudum isn't a disease at all. It's a type of person. Fat, fretful, cross, and peevish. I mean, you can almost picture someone in your head right now, can't you? Next up, we have sensation. Now, this is where it gets super specific and honestly, kind of poetic. It's not just about saying you have pain. It's about how that pain actually feels. The descriptions are often really vivid and full of metaphors. And that specificity is everything. For the remedy aesculus, a key sensation is the feeling that the rectum is full of small sticks. Now, it is a very strange image, I know, but it's meant to be an incredibly precise match for someone's actual experience. So the final core building block is something called modality. This is all about the triggers. What makes the symptoms better and what makes them worse? Is it heat or is it cold? Is it moving around or is it resting? Morning or night? These details are absolutely crucial to completing the picture. Let's look at a really clear example with the remedy bryonia. For this particular picture, any motion, like any at all, makes things worse. But pressure, or lying on the painful side, brings relief. It's this very specific pattern of what helps and what hurts that really defines the modality. Okay, so theory is one thing. Let's see how all these building blocks actually come together in a real-world case study. We're going to start with an archetype we can call the performer, which is the picture for argentum nitricum. So here's the profile. The makeup is nervous, maybe a little anemic, and they might look older than they are. The sensation they experience is trembling or splinter-like pains. And look at the modalities. Things get way worse with heat and sweets, but feel better in cool, open air. The source also points to these key symptoms called leaders, like a huge desire for sweets and serious anxiety before an event. So to boil it all down, who is the performer? Just think of someone who craves sugar, gets that intense what-if anxiety, like right before a big speech or a performance. And then that anxiety hits them physically, maybe as diarrhea. And when they have pains, they have that sharp, splinter-like quality. All right, let's switch gears and look at a totally different archetype, the sufferer. This is the picture for arnica montana, and it's really strongly connected to physical injury and trauma. The absolute core sensation here is feeling sore and bruised, like you've been beaten up, even if you haven't been. The source specifically mentions injury with blunt instruments. And the modalities? They couldn't be clearer. The slightest touch makes it worse, any motion makes it worse, and the only relief comes from lying down. And honestly, this one single quote from the text just captures the entire essence of the arnica state perfectly. The whole body is so sore, so bruised, that even their own bed feels too hard to lie on. It's just an incredibly powerful description of a very particular kind of suffering. Okay, for our last case study, let's meet the griever. This is the drug picture for a remedy called ignatia. And this one is really unique because its main defining feature is contradiction. And I'm not just making that up. The source material is super direct about this. It states that ignatia is, quote, the remedy of great contradictions. This isn't just some side note, it's the central theme of its entire profile. And here's exactly what that looks like in the real world.
a sore throat that actually feels better when you swallow, an empty stomach that isn't relieved by eating. You feel thirsty when you have the chills, but you have no thirst at all when you have a fever. I mean, everything is the exact opposite of what you would normally expect.
So, what's the story behind this state? Well, the source ties these bizarre contradictions directly to major emotional upheavals, specifically, ailments after grief or disappointed love. The emotional and the physical are seen as just one complete, tangled up picture. So, now that we've looked at these different personalities, the performer, the sufferer, the griever, what does this whole system of drug pictures really reveal? Well, it suggests a fundamentally different worldview when it comes to being unwell. You see, instead of starting with a disease label like, say, migraine, and then finding a drug for it, this whole system starts with the person. It's looking for a holistic pattern, that unique combination of physical feelings, emotional states, and personal triggers that makes you, you. At the end of the day, a drug picture is really an attempt to create a map of a person's individual subjective experience of being sick. It charts their personality, their weird and specific sensations, and all the unique things that make them feel better or worse. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. If we shift our focus away from a named disease and toward a detailed picture of a person's entire state, does that change how we see illness itself? It's a really interesting thought about the power of perspective.